On the other hand, Yun was asleep in his car, dreaming about Chai's grandmother and how happy he had been with her. Suddenly, he dreamt of Chai fainted on the floor. He woke up startled, shouting her name. To his surprise, she was right next to him. He hugged her tightly but also pulled away, asking what she was doing there. She responded that she had come to see him because they were about to start filming. Both of them got out of the car, and as they filmed, Yun remembered what Gina had told Chai. So she was determined not to let go of Yun ever again. A little later, Chai visited Yun and boldly said, "Let's lie down." This shocked Yun, but the craziest thing he did was slam the door in poor Chai's face. She repeatedly rang the doorbell, while Yun, blushing, thought that she had gone crazy. How could she say that? A few hours earlier, Chai had been at home, remembering everything they had experienced together during the couples program. She blushed deeply, and since the director of the drama had seen the program and their big kiss, the next day she handed Yun and Chai the script, telling them that she had taken a long time to modify it, but had been inspired by the couples program. The two of them were stunned to see the script now. They had to shoot an adult scene, but Yun was the most nervous. He felt cornered, and since he had promised to make the drama a success, he had no choice. Yun opened the door to Chai, ready to say something, but without hesitation she rushed inside. Once inside, she told him that there was a scene they needed to rehearse. Yun, still nervous and blushing, explained that it was different now, because before it had just been a kiss, but now it wasn't. He tried to get Chai to leave his house, but she, determined, insisted that they at least rehearse the lines, as the audience was expecting a lot from them due to the program. So both of them sat down. Chai put into practice everything her friend Minji had told her, to try and seduce him. She started by getting closer to him. Yun, nervous, grabbed a pillow to cover himself, but when he felt Chai's touch, he pushed her onto the couch and positioned himself over her. Just like that, Chai thought they might be able to rehearse a bit, but as they got closer, they ended up kissing. It seemed like the moment they both wanted would finally happen, but Chai suddenly had a panic attack, breaking the moment. She went to get a glass of water, but the seduction game with Yun was far from over. Later, Yun came to check on her to take her home, but for Chai, the night was still young. She started drinking, and Yun knew he wouldn't be able to resist much longer, so he tried to pull away from her. But Chai still had one more trick up her sleeve, pretending to be asleep. The movie they were watching ended, and Yun was about to take her home, but when he saw she was asleep, he picked her up in his arms and carried her to the bed. As he lay her down, she opened her eyes, realizing she hadn't been asleep. However, he allowed her to stay and told her to take a shower. Chai knew that the old version of herself wouldn't have done this, but now she was determined to fight for him. As she stepped out of the shower, her headache suddenly returned, and she collapsed to the floor. Yun rushed into the bathroom, worried, and saw Chai in a vulnerable state. Flustered, he quickly left the room and asked if she had hurt herself. When she confirmed that her arm was hurt, he insisted on taking her to the hospital, but she just wanted to sleep. Yun gently dried her hair, and Chai felt embarrassed for flirting with him. Once she was in bed, she asked him to bite her, but Yun knew that Leon hadn't been able to do it. He pretended to bite her, but her headache only worsened. She confronted him, asking if the rejection was because of the bite. He got closer and told her it wasn't that, but it was because of Gina. He was waiting for her until the contract was over. Chai knew that wasn't the full truth, but chose not to argue. Instead, she simply asked him to help her lie down. He complied, leaving the room to call someone to bite Chai. The next morning, Chai woke up feeling refreshed. Yun told her she could rest a little longer if she wanted, but soon she went to the living room and found Gina there. She greeted Chai with a warm smile, and Yun hugged Gina, asking if she was okay. Chai nodded, and Yun told her to go home since he needed to speak with Gina. Chai knew it would be awkward to stay, so she left, feeling sad. Once alone, Gina was furious with Yun for how he treated Chai, but he didn't respond. After a while, Yun told Gina to leave because Chai needed to be at home. Gina asked why Yun was treating Chai like this, and Yun admitted that he had asked Gina to bite Chai earlier since she was also a vampire. However, he didn't reveal anything else. Later, on set, Yun and Leon had a conversation. Yoon told Leon that he no longer needed to bite Chai, but Leon, furious, warned him that if he had bitten her, she could have been in mortal danger. Yoon, also angry, replied that he was still Chai's boyfriend and the one who cared most about her. Leon apologized but confessed that he had been in love with Chai since childhood. Yoon was shocked but didn't say anything in response. Later, Leon was on set, deep in thought when Chai approached him. She asked if he knew why Yoon didn't want to bite her, but Leon, looking away, said he didn't know, only that Yoon had asked him for a favor. Chai could tell Leon was lying, but didn't press him further, thanking him instead. Later, on set, Chai improvised some lines to better fit the mood the screenwriter wanted. Everything was going perfectly until Yoon got nervous due to the intimate situation and called her by her real name. The director stopped the scene and scolded Yoon, though he also congratulated them. Poor Yoon was so nervous, but Chai reassured him to treat the situation as normal between them. Leon, watching from a distance, felt sad. In the next take, everything went smoothly. Yoon cooperated well, though he was exhausted. The director, happy with the results, assured them there would be no problem in the intimacy scene. After the shoot, Chai told Yoon that this time she had guided him, but for the next scene she couldn't do that. She whispered in his ear that she would go to his house that night to rehearse and that he should wait for her, ready to take control. That night, Yoon was at home, alone, thinking about Chai. Suddenly, he fell asleep and dreamed of naughty things with her. He woke up startled, decided to take a shower and tried to calm down, knowing he had to stay away from her at all costs. When he stepped out of the shower, Chai was already waiting for him in the living room. He was astonished, thinking he was hallucinating. He asked her how she got in, and she explained that she had asked Gina for the code to his house. Although it was very late, Chai insisted that they had agreed to rehearse, as everyone thought they were a couple and they had to keep up the illusion. Frustrated, Yoon asked her to leave, but she, annoyed, pointed out that it was just a rehearsal. Did he feel something for her and was afraid of getting confused again? Unable to resist, Yoon began the rehearsal. As Chai delivered her lines, suddenly Yoon lunged at her, kissing her. They moved to the bedroom, and Yoon thought it was a dream. But Chai, looking at him, told him it wasn't real, that it was just practice. They began their romantic scene, and she told him she loved him. Yoon was in shock, but Chai reminded him that it was only a rehearsal. Yet it was also a real confession because she truly loved him. She kissed him again, saying it was practice and they needed to focus on being the couple everyone expected them to be. Embarrassed, Yoon agreed, and they began exchanging light kisses. Just as they were about to take things further, someone knocked on the door, killing the moment. It was Chai, who was crying because his girlfriend had broken up with him. Yoon, obviously unable to attend to him at that moment, was frustrated. Chai, upon seeing Chai's boots, realized what was going on. But Yoon knew he was so distraught over what had happened that he made Chai drink a bottle for hangovers and then sent her home in a taxi. He quickly went to check on Chai, but when he saw she was asleep, he remembered their childhood together, how she used to steal kisses from him. He let her sleep peacefully. After a while, Chai woke up. Not seeing Yoon around, she decided to explore the house a bit. She wandered into the library, and Yoon, who had been napping, suddenly woke up. He rushed to check if Chai was okay and found her crying in the library. He quickly ran to her, and when she turned around, she said, "It's you." She then showed him a small elastic band she had given him when they were kids, right before she left to live with her mother, telling him never to forget her. She was crying, and Yoon explained that he hadn't mentioned it because he thought she had forgotten him. But she replied that it wasn't that, she just didn't recognize him anymore, and besides, that wasn't even his real name. She remembered that her grandmother had always hoped they would end up together. Chai tried to comfort him, but Yoon avoided her touch, telling her it was something from their childhood, and everything would change once the series was over. She, frustrated, told him she knew he was lying, that her first love was him. In desperation, she asked if he was tired of her, or didn't like the person she had become. He then told her that it wasn't her, it was him. If she stayed with him, she'd be in danger. He explained that he was the one who had changed, and asked her to go to sleep. As the days went by, the end of the series approached, and they were about to film the wedding scene. Chai looked stunning in her white dress, and everyone praised her. A moment later, Leon arrived, told her she looked beautiful, and, stepping closer, attempted to bite her, since it had been a week. However, she stopped him, saying not to do it again. She thanked him for all his help throughout the series, but now she wanted to face the pain on her own. Meanwhile, Yoon was walking down the hallway when one of Chai's assistants found him and asked if he had seen her. He said no, but she led him to where Chai was. Upon entering, Yoon was taken aback by how beautiful she looked. Shortly after, filming began and they asked the couple to kiss. The scene ended, and moments later, Yoon was alone, feeling very sad. He didn't want the series to end. Suddenly, Chai arrived and, without hesitation, told him, "Let's get married." Yoon was taken aback, exclaiming, "Whoa, whoa, hold on, you're saying that so directly." She reminded him that they had promised each other as children, and that even if her life was in danger, she wanted to be with him. Yoon didn't know what to say. But then, Chai's headache returned, and Yoon knew it was because she hadn't let Leon bite her. He had been helping her all along. She told Yoon that she was okay, that she knew he avoided her because of the bite, but she had been eating well and exercising to show him that she could overcome her headaches on her own. She wasn't with him for his help or his bite. She was with him because she loved him. Yoon couldn't understand how she could still love him after the way he had treated her. Of course, he loved her too. When Chai saw him crying, she realized that Yoon could no longer hide the truth. He decided to confess everything. He told her that when her grandmother had suffered from headaches, Yoon knew that the bite would help her feel better. But one day, her grandmother passed away, and at her funeral, Yoon heard that she had died of cancer. He felt guilty because she never went to the doctor, even though she always felt better after Yoon's bites. Yoon believed he was to blame for her grandmother's death, and that guilt had been eating him up ever since. Chai was shocked to hear this, but Yoon told her he was the one to blame for her grandmother's death. He knelt before her, asking for forgiveness. He explained that when Chai was with her mother, she worked very hard to give them everything they needed, even more than that, while her brother received all the attention and she was neglected. Yet, whenever she spoke with her grandmother, she was so happy and her grandmother always wanted to see her. She sang, danced with her kid and laughed at her stories, and her grandmother always wanted to see her. But because of her mother's way of exploiting her, Chai couldn't always be with her. Later, Chai thought about what Yoon had said. She knew that he had only been trying to help her grandmother, and then it hit her. The key to his house was the date her grandmother had passed away. She understood that Yoon acted the way he did because he felt guilty. Chai cried, but her headache intensified. The next day she went for a walk to revisit the places she had visited as a child, places filled with beautiful memories. She returned to her grandmother's house, and before entering she met one of her grandmother's old friends, who told her no one had lived there since her grandmother passed, but the house was always well taken care of. Chai entered the house and was surprised to see everything exactly as she remembered. She sat on the couch and began looking through old photos, recalling how happy her childhood had been. She came across photos of Yoon with her grandmother, and it dawned on her that Yoon had always been there for her. Suddenly, she looked toward the hallway, where she had always gone to find comfort when she was sad. After talking to her mother, she would always find a basket of sweets there, and it made her feel better. This time, when Chai looked inside the basket, she found a letter. Meanwhile, Yoon was feeling sad. His agent arrived, asking why he wasn't answering his phone and commenting on how haggard he looked. Yoon simply apologized, but suddenly he received a call from Chai. After answering and hearing what she had to say, Yoon ran out, leaving Leon speechless. He arrived at Chai's grandmother's house, where she told him that her grandmother had left a letter for him. This surprised him even more when Chai mentioned that her grandmother had known everything. Apparently, her grandmother had been in the 4th stage of cancer, and when she found out, she only had 6 months to live. There was nothing more that could be done. She knew it was time to be with her husband and son again, but she also knew her grandchildren would be sad. During the times she had intense headaches, she would suddenly start feeling better, and when she did, she would see Yun and feel like he had some special power. Together they read the letter. Her grandmother thanked Yun for everything, telling him that after the death of her husband and son, her greatest happiness had been him. She knew that by the time he read the letter, she would no longer be by his side. She shared how the doctor had given her 6 months to live, but thanks to Yoon, she had lived for 2 extra years. She considered him a gift in her life, and because of him she had lived happily. She told him that he would be the first to notice her passing and apologized, asking him to be happy, just as she had been, thanks to him. She ended the letter with, "I love you." After reading the letter, they went for a walk by the sea. Chai asked if he had been taking care of the house, and Yoon said that he had sent someone to buy it, with the only condition that nothing would be touched, and he had done it all for Chai. She thanked him and asked what he felt about her now after reading the letter. Yoon, feeling sad, said that he wondered if he could still stay by her side. She happily hugged him, saying, "Of course you can." They played together and suddenly Chai fell into the water. When she came out, she had seaweed on her head, and the love between them was possible thanks to her grandmother. Chai promised to take care of him and never let go. They returned to her grandmother's house, and she was soaked. Yun suggested they take a bath, but Chai understood he meant separately. After Yun showered, Chai left her grandmother's clothes for him to wear. When he came out, he looked very handsome. He joined her to look at the pictures, and they were both happy together. Just then, Jeon called Yoon, and Yeon realized he couldn't take any more time off and had to return. On their way back, Chai fell asleep in the car and her phone slipped under the seat. A few hours later, they arrived at Chai's house. She said goodbye with a kiss, but when she got to her apartment, she realized she didn't have her phone. She quickly rushed to Yoon's apartment, but when she arrived, he wasn't there. She fell asleep waiting for him. When she opened her eyes, Yoon was sitting next to her, crying. Hours earlier, Yoon had realized he hadn't confessed his love properly and decided to go see Chai. He bought her a bouquet of flowers, but when he arrived at her house, she didn't answer. He called her phone, but it went to voicemail. Fearing the worst, Yoon urgently asked a locksmith to open the door. When he entered, she wasn't there, but as he returned to his car, he found her phone. He went back to his apartment, where he found her feeling relieved and crying because he had thought he had lost her. Holding her hands, Yoon admitted that maybe he had been afraid before, thinking he shouldn't fall in love with her because of his own faults. But he had never stopped thinking about her. Chai was happy to hear his confession, but asked him to promise that whenever he had a problem, he would tell her and they would solve it together. Just then, Yoon noticed something and, blushing, told Chai that she was missing something. She, also blushing, realized she wasn't wearing something because she had taken it off when she arrived. Yoon blushed too, but then Chai asked him an inappropriate question. "Do you want to touch?" She moved closer to him and gave him a tender kiss. Just as things were heating up, Yoon remembered he had to go buy something, so he told Chai he wouldn't be long. Chai, nervous, decided to have a glass of wine to calm herself. Soon after, Yoon returned, and when he saw her drinking, he asked for a glass too. She handed him the glass, and as they did, she noticed a little box that had XXL written on it. They both blushed, and Chai remembered the beast she had seen earlier. She lifted the wine bottle and drank it all in an attempt to relax. Then she asked Yoon what his dream was. Yoon replied that his dream was to find her. He had studied hard and done everything to reach her, even altered his face, which his mother hated because it reminded her of the divorce. He didn't get along with his sister before, but now they were very close. As a child, he loved visiting his grandmother because being at home felt like living in hell. After losing his grandmother, he went to study abroad, where he met Gina, his mother's friend's daughter. But now he was happy, because he had his sweet Chai. On the other hand, Chai went for a run to clear her mind. She felt bad for believing in a lie and had distanced herself from Yoon over something that never happened. She stumbled and hurt her knee, and just then a hero appeared, Yoon's representative. He asked if she was okay and quickly noticed her knee was bleeding. He wanted to take her to the hospital, but she refused. Since he lived nearby, he asked if she wanted to go to his place to treat her injury. She accepted. Once there, as he was taking care of her, he asked if she lived alone, and she confirmed that she did. A few minutes later, she was about to leave, but she asked for his number to thank him. Leon, thinking she might call Yun or her fake boyfriend, was surprised when Chai only asked if he always ran. He replied, yes.